History shows us that a strong regional architecture can bring to bear incentives for cooperation and disincentives for provocation and problematic behaviors. But this kind of architecture does not just spring up on its own. Just as NATO and other aspects of the post-World War II architecture didn't just happen. It takes consistent effort, strong partnerships, and crucially American leadership. And that is, at core, what our strategy in the Asia-Pacific is all about. All of our actions, diplomatic, economic, and military, are designed to advance the school. Let me offer 3 examples about how it works. I'm going to skip the first example, and I'm going to abridge the second example. Here's a second example, which demonstrates how strong rules and norms matter in people's lives. Strong rules and the enforcement of norms. As part of that same trip last November, the president built momentum for a new far-reaching trade agreement called the Trans-Pacific Partnership that we are negotiating with 8 other countries in the Asia-Pacific region. This agreement is not just about eliminating barriers to trade. It's not. Will it eliminate barriers to trade at all? Although that is crucial for boosting U.S. exports and creating jobs in the United States. So she thinks the TPP will create jobs. It's also about agreeing on the rules of the road for an integrated Pacific economy that is open, free, transparent, and fair. She's talking about the TPP. It will put in place strong protections for workers, really. The environment, right? It will put in very strong rules for intellectual property. And we can't even talk about innovation in this context, but she claims it will, all key American values, and it will cover emerging issues such as the connectivity of regional supply chains. That's very much true. The competitive impact of state-owned enterprises. That's some doublespeak. And create trade opportunities for small and medium-sized businesses. Right. See, here's the thing. I actually think that Clinton probably actually believes that. However you want to interpret this, okay? Either she is lying through her teeth, or she's out to lunch. Either way is not particularly flattering, okay? You could interpret it, she's lying, she's clueless, you could have this. Let's do this one thing at a time. Okay, so you could have this perception that she's lying, she's diabolical, she knows exactly what the TPP said, and she's trying to tell you exactly the opposite of what it actually says. That's one perspective. It makes for good drama. It's good theater, right? But I don't think it really adds up with the evidence that we have in front of us. I think that the evidence we have in front of us, first of all, she claims that she hadn't read the agreement, right? She wasn't involved in writing it, which is probably technically true. And she said that she wasn't going to support it or oppose it. She wanted to wait until it came out first, right? But here we have her claiming it's this great thing. I believe her when she says she really didn't know what it said. So what is this? What is this that she's telling us? The answer is that it's a load of claptrap that was given to her by her handlers. And she's essentially just reading a bunch of stuff off of a sheet of paper. And that's how you make sense of all of these contradictions, okay? I don't think she is the diabolical monster that it's easy to portray her as for, the purposes of theater. But I think that if you really look into this, it's pretty clear that she's really not as closely involved in the actual writing of any of this as her supporters may claim either. That in essence, her job is to be a spokesperson. And that's what she did for a lot of her period in office. The question that's not as clear, or doesn't have as clear of an answer in my mind, is what role she plays in putting in place the people around her. Is it a situation where she determines who the people around her are, and then she delegates everything and then just, stands up on the podium? Or is it the case where the people around her are put in place by a structure, by a system that also put her in place, and she's just reading lines and cashing checks? But I mean, this isn't as facile as saying, look, she supported this, he supports that, vote for Bernie because he supports this, don't vote for her because she supports that, right? The contradictions that have built up on top of themselves regarding the specific issue open up a lot more questions about just exactly what a Hillary Clinton presidency would really be like. Because if she did have some concept of what the negotiations were about and what the agreement was about, then first of all, she is lying here. She doesn't understand what the trade agreement is about. Sorry. Let me be clear. Okay, so if see that this is why I like to write things down. Okay, I didn't write this down. This is very off the cuff. It's very obvious. I'm stumbling over my words here. Okay, so let's suppose that she was involved in the writing. Okay, then she is lying to us about what it's about because she knows that it's not going to increase workers' rights or be good for the environment, right? If she's involved in writing it, she knows that. So she's lying to us about this. Her speech is a lie. And then she's lying to you about not being involved with it, right? If she's telling the truth about not really being involved with it, which I think is probably correct, then she's pretending that she knows what she's talking about based on information that was handed to her. And I think that that's the more realistic analysis, the more realistic reading. Okay? And that's the problem. So I don't think she's lying when she says the TPP will be good for workers and good for the environment and will create jobs. I think she actually believes the information that's given to her, and she has a lot of faith in the system around her. And while I don't want to fall into this, knuckle dragging, discussion about strong leadership, a little bit of greater initiative should be a prerequisite for somebody who wants to be the president of the global empire. So that's, I think that as time goes on, the codes will require more and more analysis. They won't be just strict recitations like they have been up to now, because they will require a little bit more analysis. I've avoided that up to this point because I wanted to get the obvious stuff down first, but as we go, I'm going to need to do a little bit more of this. So there we go. There's some more shit that Hillary actually said. But it might not be shit that Hillary actually wrote.